Welcome to part 2 of the Bamarama 2025 puzzle series. My name is Aryan and I go by Waterfan5 on the geocaching.com website. If you haven't watched part 1, then I recommend that you watch part 1 first. I explain a little bit about this series, what this series is about, and now I'm going to talk about the finale and how the finale was solved. So, for the last 6 weeks before the event, puzzles were published. And 2 days before the event, the bonus cache was published that had the first to find prize associated with it. So, and to solve the first to find prize, you had to find all the other ones because there was information in the cache that you need, and also have solved them because I was using the solutions to help you solve this bonus cache. You needed that information. So let's take a look at that cache. So let's take a look at the bonus cache. So it mentions it's a field puzzle, there's a bonus cache, and the reason it's a field puzzle and a bonus is because, well, there was a lock combination, but also you had to have found the other caches, otherwise you couldn't have solved this puzzle. So the first thing that we have to do is it talks about that the clue characters played clue together, and each one made an accusation. Each one gave who murdered Mr. Body, what weapon was used, and which room the murder happened in. So basically the regular clue things. You also need to find out their favorite Monopoly token. And that was because the Monopoly tokens were inside of the cache containers. So by finding all the caches, you could answer the Monopoly token column. But we have to start here. It guides you through what you have to do. You have to first do the find out the order of the clue characters, because all the answers will have to be in order, but you first have to find out what is the order, in this case what I am looking for. And it gives a hint here. It says it is determined by the luck of the die. That is the only thing the information was there. But now if you take a look at that and see luck of the die, how is that done? Well, we can see the information that was here. So because if we go to the other pages, the original puzzles, there's actually a die on this puzzle. So for example, this is Professor Plum. And if we look at Professor Plum and look at this clue board, then we see that the die have, say, number 2. But if we go to the next Scarlet, the image looks very similar, but we only see one die on this field, and it says number 1. So we now have number 1 and number 2, Scarlet and Professor Plum. And the next one is the green. So this wasn't the publish order of the caches, this wasn't anything. You truly had to go through each of these pages. And for example, this one, if we look at it, it says number 5. So now that we know how to find it, we can fill in the first column, which is the clue characters in order based on the die. Now the way that it worked is that the checker would each time give you a hint on what is to do next. So if you would fill in the certitude checker with the information, you had to give the first letters of each character. I didn't make you type it out, it was too much work. Make you fill it in. Then it says, yes, this is correct. Keep this order for the remaining answers. Hope you check the other caches in the series for keywords, because that was the next step that you had to do, is to fill in the information of the first letters of the token that you found. I still wanted you to type in the original characters. That way, somebody online was basically stopped here. They could do puzzle number 1, they couldn't do puzzle number 2, because they didn't have it, and therefore were now stuck in the series. Somebody could, of course, send them the information and then they could continue, but it was basically to promote that the people on site would be the first ones to solve this. So once they go to the next one and they type in the first characters of all the Monopoly pieces, then they would get the next hint, and the next hint says, congratulations, that is correct. And each character told you who they accused. So that was the next piece of the puzzle. So each character told you who they accused. Now, similar like the first puzzle, Also here we have to go back to the original boards, because if we go back, that is the next column. So we did column number 1, clue character, column number 2, monopoly tokens, column number 3 is the accused. And similar like the first one where we have to look at the die, we have to go back to the other cache pages. So let's take a look at just one of them. And it mentions that each character told you who they accused. Well, of course, they didn't tell you directly, but there was still some information that we hadn't used, right? A lot of people looked at the image pictures, so at some point I posted a hint and say, ignore the character pictures, they're just AI generated and are not relevant. So this woman, for example, has 2 handbags, which is kind of weird. And of course, AI is not very good with hands, so the hands always look weird. So I had already posted on the cache page that that was not relevant. But as they were introduced themselves, they also were making accusations. So we see here the sentence, pleased to make your acquaintance, blah, 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 blah. But if you looked at all the first characters of a sentence, P, L, U, M, then basically she says plum. And so that is her accusation. Let's go to another one. And also Colonel Mustard talks, and Colonel Mustard says S, C, A, R, L, E, T. So Scarlet. So basically what you had to do is go back to the original cache pages, find out the information from the sentences, and the hint was hopefully enough to get you there and find all the information. And a lot of people did, so this worked all very well. So with that information, you could now do step number 3 and fill in the accused. You have to still, of course, have all the popular information, the previous information, so now you have 18 characters, and we have to go on to the next stage, which is the rooms that are being done. But if you filled in the checker, so this was the previous one, each character told you, so kind of hinting towards that you had to look at where they were talking, right? Which was that introduction section. But the next one would then say, we have to find out the locations. And the hint that we're given is, now where is Mr. Body? So looking at the rooms, we have to find 6 location numbers. Well, the clue game, of course, is still the best place to find that, and it says find Mr. Body. So that's what you had to do. You had to go back to the clue game that they were playing, look at that image that was there, and basically everyone had Mr. Body hidden somewhere. So here we see Mr. Body hidden in the kitchen. But if we go to the next puzzle and open the game there, you can't really see Mr. Body when it's small, but when you open it up, you can see Mr. Body and you have to go look for him. And in this image, he's in the hole. So this will give you locations for each one. So for Scarlet, it was that hole. You go to the next one and you look where they are. And you see here, it's in the dining room. So now you get 6 characters and you know where each one is location. So we have now clue characters, the order, the monopoly token from the caches, the accused from the introduction, and the room. And this is where most people got stuck. And this was sort of by design. I had purposely made the last step the most difficult because I wasn't quite sure how quickly people were going to do it. And if people had found it, and some people did find it, but didn't know what to do with the information about where the weapons were. And basically, since it was published 2 days before the event, I knew there was some time, so I didn't have to rush with giving more hints, and basically just waited to see if somebody would find it, give people a day to solve it. And so it wasn't until the next day that additional information was posted. So if we go to the last hint, initially it stopped here and it said, congratulations again. You may have been congratulated many times. You found the correct rooms, and congratulations. My sources say you deserve this hint. That was initially the text. The next day, I updated that with congratulations. You covered your breakfast in so much strong syrup that I can't even see it anymore. Now, this was the information that finally led people to solve it. Um, I posted a little joke on the Bamarama page as well that I showed them my breakfast. But for a lot of people, this was enough information to finally then solve the final step. Now, but where was it? Where was this information? If you had followed my recent videos, you had seen that I'd done a video about bacon cipher. And that was a hint towards this as well, because breakfast bacon, of course, is very thing. Strong, if you Google strong and cover things in strong and all, you will actually find out HTML. There was also a reference here to sources that you had to look at the source. However, this was not the source of the cache page. This was not the source of the certitude checker. This was the source of those checkers that were on these pages. And I mentioned I used a kind of like a different type of checker. This is one that's more popular in Europe. I don't see it used much in the US, but it allows you to put styling in the answer. Because, and let's take a look at one of them. I have one of them open. So this is the answer of the way it gives it, of one of the answers looks like. So you now have the information for Scarlet Puzzle, which I gave away in the previous video as well. And you see here, congratulations. This is the correct answer and you've solved the puzzle. Every one of them said that. Everyone had that same information in there about congratulations, you have solved the puzzle. The hint said, you covered your breakfast so much in strong syrup that I can't even see it anymore. And that's exactly what happened. So we have sources, strong syrup, can't even see it anymore. That is the trick that I did, because if I go to the sources, view source, and on a computer this is very easy. On a phone this is nearly impossible. If you go to this, and some people had found this and had wondered why this was formatted so strange, but didn't know what to do with it, till I finally said, yeah, with the hint, it is covered in strong, and here you see that strong information. So you see that the cache is hidden at, and here you can somewhat see the word congratulations, but not very well. Now let's take this piece out. So I'll copy it out, and I just use any HTML page, and basically says, what would this do? And this shows the page. Congratulations, this is the correct answer, you've solved the puzzle. Now the hint said you've covered it in so much strong syrup that I can't even see it anymore. So that was the hint of what you needed to do. You needed to remove the strong from this. And if you do that, and I will zoom in a little bit, you can now see that it acts like a regular bacon cipher, where some of the characters are bold, some of the characters are not. So you can see that right here. So now if you're familiar with the bacon cipher, then basically the ones that are bold and not bold, you have to extract, and then you get A, B, A, etc., etc. Sorry, it's the other way around, B, 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 A, and so on. As I mentioned, I had recently done a video on this as well. I have a special tool that will make this slightly easier. So if I put this text in here, and I say strong is my differentiator. So I set this information, and I say I want to see an A and a B. I get basically this text right extracted. I don't have to do it manually. I said already, like if I looked at it, the ones not bold are B's, then A, then a bunch of B's, then two A's, and so on. So you see that this is extracted right away, 3 B's, an A, a bunch of B's, 2 A's, etc., etc. So now we have a bacon cipher, and we can use any website. I actually have a handy button right here that immediately sends you to one of the other tools that I have, which is my binary tech. And using the bacon cipher, if we do this, we can now see that if we use the more advanced bacon, and that it now says the word candlestick right here. So now we have a weapon. This is what you could do for every cache page, and you would get the information from it. So you basically had to go to your answers. So you have to have solved the information. Just having the coordinates to the caches wouldn't do you enough because all of them were keywords. So if you had just received the coordinates, you wouldn't be able to solve it. You had to know all the keywords. And if you knew all the keywords, you could get to the answers. With those answers, you could now look at the source code, use the Bacon cipher, and finally get the last part of the puzzle using this information. So as you can see, quite extensive, quite difficult. Um, some said, please don't make it more difficult the next time. And yeah, this is probably as difficult as it gets. There was a lot of money at stake. There was a first to find prize. I wanted to make sure that the people at the event still, that it wasn't solved in a few minutes. I purposely made it hard. But I hope it was enjoyable. I also hope that people learned now a new trick of where to find with this double covered bacon. I considered putting it on the cache page as well, but a lot of the websites filter it out if you cover the bold in bold, and so cover it with another layer. So I had to be careful what I used. So there was a lot of testing involved till I found a site that was working and allowed me to do this trick. So that was the final step. That would give you the coordinates and the lock combination, and now you could go. A group from Georgia ended up being the first to find. They had a lot of information and a lot of notes that they had made before there, so they came well prepared to the event. Um, Maybe because they know me and they know that I was making the puzzle, so they were well prepared and had a lot of notes, and yeah, well deserved first to find to that group. So with that, that is the end of this puzzle. I hope you enjoyed this information. So yeah, that was it. It was a whole bunch of caches that from Georgia that ended up being the first to find. I think like 10 plus if I looked at the list. They teamed up together to solve the finale puzzle because, well, it was a difficulty 5, and as you can see, there were some significantly tricky steps that may not have been seen before. Um, that was the whole purpose, that it was hard, so that people would have to work for it. So it all worked well. Certainly a fun series to make, and I got a lot of feedback from people that they enjoyed solving it. So all was good. Um, and again, if you have a mega event and you would like me to work with you on making some puzzles or hiding some series, happy to work on that if time permits, of course. But yeah, contact me on WordFan5 on the geocaching.com website, and we can see what I can do. Other than that, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. That way you'll be notified of other puzzles videos that I will release. And if you have any feedback, then feel free to leave a comment. With that, thank you very much and speak to you next time.